The action of the Minister of Education in promoting this propaganda handbook in the schools is a gross misuse of his ministerial responsibility.
Who's right? Since they sent me the booklet, I'll have a go. Bearing in mind that this programme is certainly not about teaching aids, but we are about communicators, and that includes propagandists, advertisers. I assume, however, that if you're going to teach something, it ought to be in the round. One should deal not only with the good points, but with the criticism. So what about the problem of demarcation disputes, inter-union squabbles? It's not really dealt with. How about the problem which exists surely of unions being used for political purposes? Doesn't seem to be in. Or what about the thought that some unions are perhaps too small to be effective nowadays? Can't find it. No, basically, I'm afraid this is a piece of propaganda. I don't find it extreme or immoderate, but one-sided it is. Fine for the unions to give away or sell if they want to, but to teach in schools? Perhaps it should be looked on as a good idea that went wrong. Basically, though, I think this and this are the same thing. It seems to me the Herald was absolutely entitled to put the point of view it did. In fact, I'm rather surprised more papers didn't join in. And now something else we've been sent. The Qantas New Zealand Press Awards for 1984. 119 pages of photographs and cartoons. Good stuff, most of it. I always feel that press pictures should have action in them, which is what one gets from the winner, Ross Land of the New Zealand Herald. But there are other moods. And there's no rule which says you have to agree with the judges. For instance, this effort by Neville Lodge of the Evening Post didn't win anything, but to me it seemed to say something.
Oh, no. I don't think Sir Robert's got the country in a miss. I'm sure he'd have told us if he had.
Which sums up exactly, perhaps, part of the spirit of the time. The book is published by Beckett Publishing at $14.95. And now it seems I'm in trouble. A letter from someone who wants to be called critic of Te Atu South.
I take strong exception to the two most recent programmes presented by Mr. Priestley, and that I feel he is overtly challenging the intelligence of the general viewing public by denigrating the programmes which they, by popular acclaim, appear to enjoy watching.
All I said was that most of us, including me, spend far too much time watching rubbish, which we do. Critic's letter to the producer ends.
I can only live in hope that this letter will cause yourself and Mr. Priestley to stop and think before you again tell what I should or should not be watching on television. If it doesn't, I can guarantee you that one programme I will not be watching will be Fourth Estate.
Every so often we do get letters like this, which suggest that unless we reform our ways massively or come out in favour of this or that, then the viewer concerned will never watch this programme again. It's about time somebody replied to one of them. Critic. There are probably a good deal more than 500,000 people watching this programme at the moment. That number has built up steadily over the years. I believe the reason to be that people on this programme say what they think. It's not our business to worry about whether people agree with us or not. And I believe that's how people like it. And if we ever stopped doing it, the viewing figures would melt like the snow, which is why I feel we have to say to Critic and others like him that the Dukes of Hazzard await on the other channel. They should be approaching their 17th car crash of the programme about now. The 25th anniversary celebrations have produced a good deal of mush and far too little discussion on the question of where's television going, what's it doing to us. One of the strangest decisions, surely, was to put their two documentaries on 25 years of television up against Hill Street Blues, which effectively ensured, I suppose, that comparatively few people watched them. But if you did happen to be watching the second one, producer Bill Sanders, then suddenly for a few minutes the whole thing came to life.
Increasing commercialism is mainly the result of the licence fee being unchanged since 1975. From being half the corporation's income, it's now only 13%. TVNZ has had to rely increasingly on advertising and other commercial revenue, now 87% of the total. The pressure to attract mass audiences at the expense of minority interest and quality programs raises doubts whether New Zealand television is a public service or a branch of the advertising industry.
The advertising industry is probably the only organisation I know that actually understands what television is all about. It isn't, in fact, to educate and inform the world, to develop third world countries. It's to sell products.
Now, that's what I call laying it on the line. Let's see some more of it.
A visitor to New Zealand could easily think that we're an American colony. Over half our television comes from the United States. Now, I judge a television service by the programs that we make, not the programs that we buy.
It would be grand to do more of that. The ambitions of Television New Zealand have always been to do more of that, some of it internally, some of it by taking the work of people outside. But frankly, the real problem in the end has been money.
There was a time when television in this country was run by people who wanted to make programs. I believe it is now in the hands of people whose main aim is to balance the books. The last round of restructuring was made to bring broadcasting into line, to make it docile and bland, and it succeeded.
Years ago, I helped to edit a centenary supplement for a pretty good British newspaper I was then working for. Not the least criticism of the paper appeared in the supplement. There was no realistic discussion of the future, which turned out to be pretty disastrous, by the way. We never admitted to so much as a printing error. It never occurred to anyone that we should. So high marks to Television New Zealand for permitting that much criticism on their big occasion. And surely it's not inconsiderable, and it's a sign of strength. They let us have a go at them week after week, frail reeds though we may be. There's no censorship, none at all. But shouldn't more be done? Television people are worried about the future. They're arguing and questioning among themselves. Shouldn't we have a real programme about it, not just a few minutes up against Hill Street Blues? And I don't mean Rodney Bryant or Brian Edwards facing 30 television executives sitting in rows, all of whom will have 14 seconds to put their case. What's wrong with a great sprawling programme full of facts and figures and argument, which might start at 9:30 in the evening and go angrily on until midnight? Most of us spend more than a month of every year watching television. It would be worth a programme. Would anyone watch it? I think so. But isn't the answer anyway that every so often one should put on a programme simply because it's the right thing to do? Good night.